Yeah,
Just let
it's probably
people
like
figure it
about,
out. But I will.
I haven't seen
come
those
back
anymore.
in open discussion. You might be. Yeah, we should.
Who's ready?
Yes.
Just for a quick, are you guys on the, you're not on the agenda, or are you just getting a badge? You have to attend a meeting? I'm sorry.
You have to be in the, you have to be in the front, you have to be in the front row.
Well, actually, you picked a good night because we're having cake.
You have to stay to the end, right?
Well, we may do it when I
Okay.
feel like it.
I like that. That's the first thing you learn. You now know who's in charge.
Yeah. I want to have cake, we're gonna have cake.
Wrong mayors.
All right, I know, right? Gets to tell us when we're having cake. All right. I'm gonna call this meeting to order for the town of Kensington Town Council meeting for Tuesday, June 3rd. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, gonna have a moment of silence. Is there anyone we should keep in our thoughts and prayers? I'd like to add the students, the seniors graduating from Walter Johnson tomorrow. Yeah. Especially Stella, but for all the seniors, it's great. Okay, we can just bow our head for a moment. Okay, thank you very much. Alrighty, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Council, you all received the minutes from Susan. I did not see any edits. So if we can have a motion to approve the May 7th minutes.
I'll move to approve the May 7 town council meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the closed session meeting minutes, I didn't see any edits for that either. If I could get a motion to approve.
Let's run through them. Okay, I move to approve the closed session meeting minutes from May 7th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the work session, meeting minutes on May 13th. I did not see any edits for that either, so if I can get a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the work session meeting minutes from May 13th.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, let's move down. So we're going to, we had the town election last night for the referendum question. So it is now up on our website that we're just acknowledging that the Board of Supervisors has prepared the documentations for both the referendum question as well as declaring the two candidates, Connor Crimmins and Stuart Sparker. Stuart's joining us tonight on Zoom. Okay. Thank you very much. I know the referendum's up on the website. You're going to put the other one up tomorrow for the candidates.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. So. All right, we also want to acknowledge that, well, I'm gonna let Matt explain it.
Sure. We'd like to acknowledge that the town has hired Lydia Lawless of Cramen and Graham to serve as counsel with regard to the declaratory judgment, with regards to the BCTGM building at 10401 Connecticut Avenue. We have a resolution for the contract with Ms. Lawless later this evening, and we'll provide more information.
Okay, would you want to just update on just that we have answered the?
Yes, they have sent a response as of this afternoon, and then they will be filing a counter by July 3rd. And Lydia said she'd have that by June 20th. So, yeah, okay. They filed the response back.
Okay. Sue Ellen, do you have anything more to add to that? Are you? No?
They or we
no. Matt said it accurately.
Okay. Yeah, the lawyers responded on our behalf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. And we did send the letter out to the Maryland Cannabis Administration. We have not received directly any response, but I know that Gabe Abernas sent out a draft letter.
Yeah, I believe it's going out. If it didn't go out later this afternoon, it'll go out
Okay.
tomorrow.
Okay, and then he'll share that with everybody.
Yep.
When it comes out. Is there any questions on what we've covered so far? Let's see questions. Okay, all right, we'll keep moving along.
Yeah, do you have your camera on purpose?
No, sorry. Thank you.
His last meeting.
At my last meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Let's go, move on down to number 3, the St. Paul Park alcohol waiver, which we have done previously for events held in our parks. So we just want to make a
You
motion.
just need a motion.
Okay, so we want to make a motion to waive the alcohol, or waive allowing alcohol, for the Juneteenth event on June 14th. Do we want to add the 15th as well, which is the rain date?
Yeah, you can add that.
Yeah.
Okay, I will make a motion.
Mhm.
And I'm looking for that number, where did it go?
There's,
Oh, no.
yeah, there's no
We don't
numbers,
have it
just,
yet.
yeah,
Yes, I move that we approve and provide a waiver to allow alcohol at the St. Paul Park for the town's Juneteenth celebration, which is scheduled for the 14th, but in the event of rain will happen on June 15th.
great. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're gonna do an update. Oh, Jody, question?
Well, while we're just on Juneteenth, I want to thank the town, especially Alex and Matt and Susan for all their support of Juneteenth. We really appreciate it.
Great.
And can I also ask, what's the flavor of that cake? Is that for everybody?
Come on down.
You can
What's-
jump in your car and be here in 2 minutes.
I know, but what's the flavor? I want
We'll
to,
put a piece in the chat for you.
What is the flavor, Alex? You bought it.
It's vanilla.
Vanilla.
oh, okay, then I might come over. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't come over for chocolate. Vanilla, I might. Thank you.
Vanilla, you might come over?
Yeah.
Okay, well, if we end early, I can deliver a piece of cake for you if you want.
Oh, even better.
While you're doing that, I'll take some too, if you don't mind.
Take-
Mayor.
Thank
All
you.
right, I'll head over to the north side and stop dropping off cake.
Any left?
All right, and I know the banner, the final banner with the sponsors, I think has gone to press. I think I talked to Carrie Ann this morning, and she said it was going to the printer. So, all right, so that's great. Number 4, MCPS boundary study. Connor?
So Montgomery County Schools is in the process of doing 2 boundary studies, one for up county, kind of Crown High School, which has been redeveloped, and then down county by us for the reopening of Woodward High School, which would impact students in the 27-28 timeline. Where we are in the process is just to keep people informed, and is they just released 4 options. Those 4 options are each tied to the 4 principles that they were trying to address, things like school overcrowding, articulation, racial and social equity balancing. So they're, in some regards, you know, as far as it looks at the town of Kensington, like 3 of the options show us KP students then going to Silver Creek Middle School, which is obviously right outside the town's south border, and then matriculating up to Walter Johnson, which is where we are currently boundary. In one option, it would take Kensington and pull it into the Newport Mill and Einstein boundaries. For residents, what's most important is they are in the community engagement part of this for the first round of options. So there are 4 options. They are asking residents to take a survey that is on the boundary study website to let them know what you like about each option, what you don't like about each option, recommendations of how to adjust the 4 options that they've given. So the 4 options are the starting basis. From there, through that round of community engagement, they will make minor adjustments to those 4 options, and then they will put out updated versions of options in the August timeframe, July-August timeframe. Timeframes have mostly been holding, but the idea is that then they would take all of that comment, revise those maps, put them back out for a second round in the August-September timeframe. Again, ask for community engagement. What do you think about the adjustments that were made? What do you like? What do you not like? They would go back and make further tweaks and then send those to the school board for the school board's review. Ultimately, it is the school board's decision which option to take and present as the new boundaries for both of those catchment areas. Just some points of, of note. The superintendent so far has recommended that when the boundaries go into effect, rising 11th and 12th graders not be impacted. They remain in their school, as well as rising 8th graders. Some of the comments that I know I've seen through like the KP listserv have been to also maybe include rising 7th graders. If that's important to you, that's a kind of comment to put into your community engagement for consideration. But those are things that the superintendent has recommended, but it is ultimately the Board of Education that will make a decision on how rising 12th or 11th or 8th graders are impacted or not impacted. As a reminder, this does not affect our elementary school assignments. Those are not being touched by this boundary study. But where Kensington Parkwood School children matriculate to is potentially impacted. The articulation in one option, I believe it's option 1, is that they go whole school onto Silver Creek. But options 2 and 4, would split the school based on geography, and part of it would go to Silver Creek and part of it would go to, I believe, Tilden, right? So those are the nuances of those options. The biggest thing is there are interactive maps. There's a ton of data that is available on the Boundary Study website. Please, take time to review it, engage with it. They're holding open office hours on Monday, Tuesday, Fridays that you can go and ask questions of the Montgomery County staff that has put this together. You can fill out the community engagement survey and then be engaged when round 2 comes out. As far as the town is, just some history with us, the town at one point was split between 3 different boundaries, with one side, Einstein, BCC, and Walter Johnson. The council, and I don't know what was the time frame of that. They pulled the whole town together, and we were assigned to the Walter Johnson cluster where we are now.
Like at least 20 years ago.
Yeah, and we've remained that way, and it's a lot of our community sense of self is derived from the fact that all kids in the town of Kensington go to Kensington Parkwood, then on to North Bethesda, and then on to WJ, and the 8K, and all of these things are because we have our community schools. So that is something that I know has been important to our identity as a town. And so do we as a body want to weigh in on writing a letter about the things that we like about the options, don't like about the options, or are important to us as a town? And I think that would be beneficial, and we can, if we agree to write a letter tonight, we can work on a draft of that in the next, week or so.
I think it would be a good idea. Anybody object?
I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So you want to draft
Yep.
So
something?
what would some of the principles be that you think, like keeping the town together, keep cohesion to the current boundaries to the extent possible is?
yeah, I mean, I think keeping the town together I believe is personally important. Obviously, since KP is not impacted, that we, articulate to the same school.
Mhm.
I personally, it just so happens that 3 of the 4 options push us into Silver Creek. I think that would be amazing because for a lot of our community, that would be the first time ever they would be in the walking shed for middle school. And even my kids, even though I'm on the north side of the train tracks, I would be completely comfortable with my kids because I do it every Saturday for the farmers market, going down and then biking to school. And that's an option that they don't have. But I also think there are principles and values that we may want to espouse about just the whole look of the map, not just our boundaries, but what are the positives in, option 2, for instance, actually achieves 80 to 100% school occupancy across every high school and middle school in the county. That is something we don't have. We have certain schools right now that are at 135% capacity.
And Walter Johnson.
Walter Johnson is one of them.
1,000.
Walter Johnson will go from 3,100 currently, projected to grow to 3,500 before this
Yes.
goes into place, and then go down to 2,000.
It would be
In-
from 136% to 92%.
92, yeah, 2,000 kids in a
It's a
2,100.
big
Yeah, I mean, huge.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important consideration. Now, for our cluster and the schools they are recommending, most of the options achieve that for us.
Hmm.
Option 1 does it for all but like 3 schools: Wheaton, Kennedy and Blair, which
Or
would
just over
still,
like
they would
100.
still be over 100 at 102, 107, and I think Wheaton at like 111, 111%. So, you know, there, I think achieving that kind of balance in the school capacity, I think is a value that to recommend. But also the idea of community, option 3 splits the county kind of all over the place. It creates what they're referring to as tentacles and islands. In fact, in one area, you have high schools that other parts of the county will draw into, but the entire neighborhood around that school does not even go to that school. It's
I was on a call with the Chevy Chase mayors today and they're not liking 3.
3 is interesting because it takes parts of Chevy Chase and pulls them over into Tacoma, but then it takes parts of Tacoma and pulls them up to
Yeah,
North
it's
Silver
just
Spring.
impossible to
I think
travel wise.
I also think operationally, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know who got stuck in our regular Tuesday traffic just coming here tonight. But I ran one of my kids to a sports practice before this, and Connecticut Avenue is backed up almost to Saul, as it is many weekdays. And so the operational logistics to get all those movements in option 3, I think would be beyond the capacity of Montgomery County
Yeah.
schools.
Okay.
So
Right.
those are some of the things I'd love, if anybody's got others.
I mean, I like the ones that you've highlighted so far. I have found these options were just released last week. I know there's been chatter on listservs, but I think it would be useful to have time to talk to some more residents and get their views on it. And I haven't really had time to do that this week. But I would like to, maybe we'll hear some tonight. But that's one thing that's been on my mind.
Yeah, it's not been, well, there were other things going on, but it hasn't been a topic that's been like on our list or
Yeah.
really more informational from Connor.
Mm.
And I think Dave Burdette, that was about it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could have something to give people that opportunity.
What was the deadline again,
Yeah.
for this window?
Yeah, I'm on that website now. It is, so they just completed our sessions last week and then Crown sessions this week. Upcoming phase 2 that they want this back by. Where is it here?
I don't have it on my
I don't
notes.
have it either.
Of course, in the bus stop at St. Paul Park is half of KP, I think.
It is, and it's not getting smaller.
Yeah. You can get good feedback from there.
Yeah, so,
And a lot of those kids too have siblings in North Bethesda and Walter Johnson as well. Because you're gonna find the parents at the elementary school bus stops, less so at middle and senior.
So, so the open office, the office hours that they're holding, the virtual office hours are Tuesdays, 8 AM to 9 AM, Thursday, 6 PM to 7 PM, and Fridays, 12 PM to 1 PM. Those go for the next couple of weeks. But I'm looking for the date that Ann was referencing.
I'm just thinking of with the survey that they have, if
Yeah.
it's up for a certain point, I
Here
was
it
thinking that
is.
was
Here's the
maybe our
survey.
window.
I don't know if Leslie Freed maybe is trying to weigh in with that answer.
Leslie, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, thank you. And
Sure. I didn't
thank
see
you,
it.
Connor, for your overview. One other issue that you might want to think about is the split articulation that some of the options have for middle school and to high school.
Yep.
So just a thought.
Yeah, that's an example of an issue I want to talk to more people about.
Yeah.
So far, I've only talked about it within my household.
Yeah.
Well, and I think some of the splits also happen in elementary, right? I mean, they don't all go to the same, right now they all go to North
Some,
Bethesda.
yeah, some options will have KP staying together to a middle school. Some options will have KP split to 2 different middle schools. Some options will, and then, you know, what we're talking about is then when you get to like Silver Creek, you could split again.
Right, okay.
And so some kids could have 2 moments where they split. And so the discussion is, you know, childhood friendships are really important. They're important for social development. They're important for mental health. And if at each time they change schools, the friends and the community that they have are getting separated, right? Just the impact that has, especially in what these will be a lot of COVID generation school kids.
Right,
So that's why articulation has monitoring like the KP listserv. It's been an issue that's been coming up of
okay,
what is something important to a lot of people advocating on behalf of KP.
okay. I mean, I grew up in Arlington County and we split in elementary, we split in middle school or junior high, and we
Mhm.
finally ended up in a high school, sometimes back with people that you did split with.
Yep.
So,
And so I think part of the issue is that there are options that don't cause splitting
yeah,
and end up, in, Walter Johnson and Silver Creek, there are options that do split. And so much of the town would still be Walter Johnson and Silver Creek, but part of KP
would go somewhere.
would go elsewhere.
Okay,
So,
okay.
yes.
I mean, I think I agree that let's take some time as much as we can to gather
We
input, but
have to write a letter
I don't
tomorrow.
know, but I think it would be good if you start drafting something.
Yeah.
I'm of the view that we should probably do it less about the specific options and more about the principles that we want to maintain or what we want to avoid, because these boundaries are going to be tweaked and
Yeah.
change a little bit, so we don't want to be sending a letter
We want it this
every
way.
time we want it, we want
Mhm.
opposing or being, for a certain option. It's more about what, the letter will serve for whatever options proposed, I guess, or whatever iteration of it.
Okay. And then we'll figure out some ways of maybe bringing some people together. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we do some coffees or something. Here at Town Hall,
Our own office hours.
our own office hours, yeah.
All right, let's see if I've got a date here.
Yeah, they didn't have one listed at the top of the survey.
Yeah, I just saw that too. Generally the date is, so they are taking the feedback now through the community engagement and the option in the survey. They will begin synthesizing that feedback over July and August and put out the refined options. They will then continue the, call it round 2 is how they've referred to it, over September. They will take more feedback, probably another round of surveys out of round 2's options. They will synthesize that over October and into November and release their kind of final option in the November timeline, with the idea that the superintendent's recommendation would be December, and the Board of Education needs to make their decision by March of 26. So because once that decision of where the boundaries are occurs in March of 26, they still have, a year plus that they have to do for transit planning, food planning, all the things to make those boundaries realistic.
Okay.
So noticing of households as to what their new school assignments are, all of that.
Okay, well, it sounds like by the end of the month. I mean,
I think.
Yeah.
we should aim
Yeah.
yeah,
So
advance
I'll start
Yeah.
a draft that we can.
right,
Noodle on.
okay,
That's how I started bullet points.
all right,
Yeah.
sounds good. Any questions from the audience or anybody else online? Yep, that's it, so we will move on. Okay, next month, at our next meeting, we need to schedule. We'll have an organizational meeting beforehand. Typically, it would be July 9th, but I'm going out of town. My daughter.
too.
You're busy too? Well, we hope you're busy, dear. We hope you're just not sitting at home. So we need a date other than
So are we trying
July.
to do it before the 4th of July holiday, or is that cutting it too tight?
well, if you're going away, I'm not going away. We tried to do it the 2nd. And Stuart, I need you to give us your date options as well. So this would be for the organizational meeting that would start at 6 and followed by a town council meeting at 7. We could do the 7th or the 8th.
Is that better than the 1st or the 2nd?
That for me, it doesn't matter.
I
Yeah,
may
we'll
be
be
out
there.
of town,
I'll be out.
yeah.
7:38 would work.
Oh, you're gonna be out the 1st and the 2nd, okay.
Are you too?
I was thinking I might be gone the 7th and the 8th, but I'm not positive.
We could do 14, 15, 16.
Yeah, I would be back by then. If you wanted to push it that late, but I don't know if you do.
I don't, I
It
mean,
doesn't hurt because we might not have an August meeting, right?
right,
So I could do that week too.
That week also works for me, Mayor.
the week of the 14th,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Any of those days,
So would you want to do a Wednesday just to, because we do
Be
Wednesdays?
consistent.
sure,
So the 16th,
sure.
all right, so. Yes, no,
I know Stuart's gonna be in this situation. Those are swim meets nights. Can we do it on a Tuesday or
we can do it on
Okay.
Tuesday.
what do you think?
I want to be flexible with children's needs,
Okay.
so their parents can attend them.
So the
It's very
15th.
important.
15th.
15th,
Yeah, let's do that.
Jody, did you have a question?
If you do it on the 15th, you have to have another cake because it's my birthday.
Oh,
Well, is it the 15th is the,
sounds like we'll have another cake. I will deliver it to your home.
Just
Okay.
saying.
No, she doesn't watch
I
on.
know. I get it. I thought that was funny.
I'm gonna put that in my phone, Jody's birthday.
Okay.
On do 7 or 6 PM.
Well, we need to do 6
Okay.
because we need to have an organizational meeting first. So, all right, everybody got that?
Yes,
Got that,
July
Aaron?
15th.
Yeah, you got that, Darren?
Got it.
Okay. And then I'm still putting Jody's birthday in here. Don't think I'm kidding. And it's all day, right? Okay, so we are going to meet on the 15th at 6 o'clock. All right, nobody's allowed to go out of town, so we're good. And Stuart, I will be able to swear you in anytime after July 1. And so you just tell me when and where, and I'm happy to travel.
Thank you, Mayor. I will get back to you as soon as possible with some
Okay.
dates.
Sounds good. Let's see, something else I was gonna. I didn't feel that it'll come back. I didn't have a pen today, so I couldn't write things down ahead of time. Oh, here's,
Wanna write?
no, I don't, I've forgotten it now. If I remember it, I'll grab the pen. All right, well, let's go through reports from the council. Darren, big report?
Do you want my report now? I'll make this quick because I'm pretty sure nobody wants to hear this except me, and I already know it.
Oh,
I've just really enjoyed the last 12 years on the council, along with a couple years before that on the various committees. I look back at the past and present members like Paul Sexton and Tommy Rodriguez and Sean McMullen, not to leave out the great. But then you guys, Mayor Tracy, Connor, Nate, and I just really appreciate all the heavy lifting you guys have done. Good luck, Stuart. I just feel like we've gotten a lot of stuff done over the years. We got through COVID together, kept the farmers market open. We have seen developments like Modena on Metropolitan, Silver Creek on Knowles. We get Knowles Station. We have the townhomes across from that, and we defeated the self-storage proposal that when it became clear that it was a terrible deal for the town. All is not done. I'm going to leave it to you and your children and grandchildren to finish the Summit Avenue extension. And I'm going to leave it to Stuart to get the Big Dig burial. And that's the other.
I tried, Stuart.
The town. But I feel like I'm leaving a council that really works well together and makes the town a better place for us all. And with that, I move to adjourn.
there'll be no second on that one. I will not ask for a second on that one. We do have other things we have to do. So, well, thank you, Darren. And we will thank you further after we get through this this round. And
Oh, well, yes, we will turn to that soon. Few just short updates. You already heard a preview from Jody and our earlier agenda item that the Kensington's 4th annual Juneteenth event will be Saturday, June 14th in St. Paul Park. A lot of volunteers have been putting in a lot of effort. For those of you that haven't attended yet, it is a wonderful community event. lots of music, lots of learning, arts groups, history groups, there's food, there's kids activities. We are still looking for volunteers. SSL hours are available for middle school and high school students. I believe that request went out on the listserv already. It's been on several emails. So we encourage people to sign up and to show up. And I want to also thank the town staff for all the support for this year's event. Secondly, I just wanted to mention that I was able to join Mayor Tracy and Stuart was also there on Memorial Day at Ernest Memorial Park for a very lovely remembrance occasion led by our resident Jen Renza, Stuart Freeman and others participating. And it was really nice to see so many people gathered in that space as we're looking at how to refresh.
It was a very good turnout.
It was very nice. We even had all generations from little babies and kids all the way to seniors. We had an opportunity to hear from a few veterans and their families about what they like to see in the space, more benches, obviously freshen it, which we're working on. I got an update from Matt that the landscape designer is working on a new design that we'll be able to preview and have the Greenscape committee weigh in on and meet on site later this summer. So I think those are all the updates I had. Nate, do you want to do
Sure, I'll
sustainable
do that
Kensington?
one, when it's my turn.
Parking task
Well,
force.
as soon as she's done, it's your turn.
Good.
Okay. Should I go?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, so for the Sustainable Kensington, we met last week. Was that last week? Yeah. And we have a couple of things that we've been working on. Several of them we've mentioned here, but I wanted to mention one more in a moment. But we've been doing this stormwater roadmap for investments that we've been working with the Green Bank, the Montgomery County Green Bank on, with some pro bono work that they've given us through a consultancy that they have with the Pre-Collective. It's a firm that helps to guide governments and stakeholders around decisions to think of creative decisions to issues like we have, which is funding, financing, and thinking more kind of holistically about our stormwater network and how to mitigate those risks moving forward as they increase with climate change. So we're making progress on that. We also have an action plan that we are implementing against that is 3 years. We actually have to we have to update our action plan and recertify for Sustainable Kensington. Believe it or not, we're going into the last year of our certification, which lasts for 3 years. So this next year, we need to collect all of the actions, document what we did, and submit. And we'll see if we can submit for silver certification. We have enough points this year, or it'll be bronze again, but we will submit by about this time next year. So the next meetings will be focused on that. The thing we want to update you on and get your feedback, actually, I think I indicated to some of you about this, was that we were discussing expanding or how we can help to support our electric vehicle charging network in the town, whether it's on public, within the public property that we own, or county owns, or state owns, or private properties, and what we can do to help to facilitate that as a town. So several of the members have been working on reporting on this and researching it, including ways to access financing for incentives for doing it. One thing that came up in the discussion was the idea of putting together an ordinance that the town could do that could help to facilitate a little bit more easier, like public charging, access to charging across the right of way, making it a little more clear what is allowed and what's not allowed, just to create a better, more clarity in our regulation, or actually create an ordinance in some part of the code that can address electric vehicle charging, plus potential incentives that we can get people to. Maybe we can have some incentives that we want to research that we could put into it as a more comprehensive piece of.
I was going to ask Sue Ellen. Sue Ellen, have you done any ordinances for doing that in public right-of-way EV chargers?
Yes. And there are also specific rules that the state applies.
Yeah.
Okay. And can you provide some information to the council at some point, or a sample of the ordinance that you did?
Certainly.
Okay,
Great, and we've also asked MML, the Maryland Municipal League and the Sustainable Maryland people for examples, and we've got an information dump from the Green Bank, or sorry, from Sustainable Maryland that we have to go through yet.
Okay,
But I think it would be anchored around the right-of-way charging issue. So thanks for offering to help, Sue Ellen. But if there's anything else that we would add to it, we'll come back to you as we research it, if that's okay.
And
yeah, sounds good.
you guys have pulled Montgomery County's guidelines for public right of way?
Yeah,
Charging.
I think we have that.
I
think Al had both those.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, what I would call common sense, right? That they've thought some of these through, but I think it's something that we could consider, like some of the things are, it only applies to households that don't have off-street parking, right? To put it into the public right away, you know. But they've got a whole pamphlet on, like a 6-page PDF. It's pretty good.
Yep, yeah, exactly. We'll make sure that they get that.
Okay.
So yeah, we just wanted to give a heads up and get the thumbs up that we can.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. I mean, I think having things in writing, so when people do come in, especially for staff, they already have the blueprint that they follow. And, you know, if there's a hiccup there, then they can come to the council, but otherwise, you know, it should be something that the staff can just handle.
When, I'm just thinking through how this could roll out, like, even down to, would this qualify for a variance? Or let's say you had off-street parking, but for whatever reason, you find it's not optimal and you still wanted to try and install the charging in the public right of way, would that qualify under our current variance process?
Yeah, we would
And so
need to
how- yeah.
consider that too. And also what would be the
threshold,
requirements
yeah.
that if you
Yeah.
do it, what, you know, there's strips that you have to put over.
Yeah.
And we have to research what works.
Is there a particular, this, in your house, that it's better to have the charger coming from the direct box?
So there's
Or-
different, I mean, there's a type 1, type 2, type 3 chargers. Type 1, you
Yeah.
plug into the wall and it's the
Takes 3
slowest.
days to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A type 2 charger, you'd have an electrician come out, you run a separate line off of your main box. And you
okay.
have a dedicated charger on the side of your house.
So you really want to be close to your box.
It's cheaper that
You,
way.
yeah, it's
Okay.
cheaper, like cable, like mine has a 25-foot cable, so even when I'm not the first car closest to the hookup, like the
Mhm.
cable reaches my whole driveway.
Right,
But, you know, the county's guidelines are concerned about things like, hey, like, they're very specific, you actually have to put this underground, you cannot put a cable across a sidewalk, the county's, per the county's guidelines. But then if you use conduit and you put it underground, they also are very specific about how many inches from the curb it has to be, and, you know, within a tree box. And looking at their guidelines, I was like, oh, like my street, the tree box is too narrow. It wouldn't qualify, and, you know, unless there's a variance process that we wanted to look at, but their whole thing is making sure it still leaves sidewalks safe and operable. But also that what they're trying to prevent is, you know, we've had this with people putting up basketball hoops. The crew goes by to do something and the hoop is actually hanging over the street. We clip it, we're removing snow and things, and we don't wanna, if damage occurs to it and it's in the right of way, whose responsibility?
right,
You know, all those considerations.
yeah.
So. If it gets left, somehow it gets bumped, knocked off, the cable goes into the street, it gets driven over, you know, it's just considerations that,
I'm sure.
but like I said, the county thought through some of it,
Yeah.
so.
Does anybody have any questions in the audience or online? Not seeing any hints?
One more update. So I spoke with Matt about this last week. The Silver Creek trash debacle that happened
Right.
where it filled up and then they came and removed it. I went by there a week or so ago and looked and was just assessing the situation, and it's not right. There's
Yeah, it
something
looks like
going
there's
on.
some mud that is piled
There's
up.
some sedimentation or something
Mhm.
is changed the hydrological flow of the
Yeah,
creek.
there's this
It's-
aura on it.
Because it's,
Yeah,
something happened, I think, I don't know when, maybe it was a storm, or maybe they did some work or maybe it's just sediment buildup, but it's serving like on the Cabin Park side, like a dam. And
Mhm.
it's blocking the water from flowing into like being a stream beyond the
Right.
bridge. So I asked Matt if I don't know if you have an update on this about, who you're gonna contact, but I said, I'm happy to run point in writing a letter to Parks and Planning, just about this issue, just to get them to address it and work with the state, work with us. And in that letter, include things like the Cabin Park, flooding, the ability to let the park flood better or engineer it to flood better, like we have talked about as this
Mhm.
kind of green infrastructure solution for flooding. And include that in kind of the overall engagement that we want to have to push the Parks and Planning to work with us a little more closely.
Okay.
So if you're okay with that, I'll work with Matt on putting a letter together.
Mhm.
And who would it go to? You said
Maybe.
Minnie Ferrero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, something Tracy and I have been talking about for a while as well. Sending them a letter about some other issue.
Yeah, but we'll just add it. Let's add it
Yeah.
all in because I think we can use this as an opportunity.
There's someone who has experience with that we could bring in to talk to if necessary.
You mean like?
I mean, somebody who
Like
works
what?
with, yeah,
I'm sure there's.
I mean, I wonder with our pre-collected and Green Bank conversations,
yeah.
I know.
I mean, is there somebody get a
Or
more
even just someone in
expertise?
Town.
Yeah, an expert.
Yeah, you could assess it and say,
Yeah.
this is not.
Right,
Brutus has already assessed it. Brutus Engineering and Associates.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean.
As an engineering, not as an environmentalist?
As an engineering tactic, for a number of reasons. One, the flow of the creek at the culvert, and then the actual Kensington Cabin Park to use as a floodplain, a
Right.
natural floodplain. So we can just take analysis from that.
Yeah, but they may not have
But
the
I-
updated one where it's basically changed the hydraulics of the flow.
So
Right
you're
now
saying
it's-
they may have something that's like a
Baseline.
baseline of a couple of years
Yeah.
ago.
That we could compare it against and say, look, it's not flowing. It's flowing on the upstream side and then it hits there and it's just
And
sitting.
it stops, yeah.
And then it's just a little trickle out. I mean, that's not good for the ecology of the stream. It's not good for, more trash is gonna build up there in the next storm. And that's why it did in the first place, probably.
Well, no, it's trees. There were a lot of big trees stuck in there.
Yeah, so maybe there's something there.
Still
also
stuck in there.
Yeah, blocking it.
Yeah,
Okay. If you could get me the report, I could look at it too.
Okay.
And then we can ask the pre-collective, like Ann said. In Green Bay. Maybe they can offer some.
I think it would be kind of helpful to, if we had better information on it when we present the letter
Yeah.
to, we have some expert of what's going on, rather than relying on
So-
parks.
How do we solicit that? You wanna
Well,
hire
first to
someone?
find out who you would talk to. What science, that maybe,
Is there a hydrologist?
there you go, a hydrologist.
That's what.
Is that what
Brutus-
you would
That's what
use?
Brutus is.
Could they just reassess it?
Yeah, we could bring them to reassess it. Parks has a hydro engineer on staff. that
Yeah,
Alex and I have
I'm
worked
very
with.
nervous that they would send them out. I
Yeah.
mean, we can ask.
Yeah.
But, he could very well just come out and say, oh, it's fine, it's fine.
Which is what they typically
That-
say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Always get your own expert.
Yeah.
well,
Thank you, Nate.
I think having
Sure,
a second opinion is helpful.
And once you get the data, I can put it into a letter.
Okay.
And whatever other issues you want to sprinkle in there.
There's a whole bunch.
Happy to include them.
Okay, good. Any questions regarding Nate's report? Yeah, okay, Connor?
Nothing from parking committee, but since we're on the topic of weather and things falling into creeks and trees. One is just a shout out to Jason and Marco, especially for the big storms of the last week. We had several trees that came down along Connecticut, Kensington Parkway and
Metropolitan.
Metropolitan and Farragut, Frederick. And it was great. This was over a Friday night after business, but gave them the addresses and some photos, and they had them cleared in moments. Where I know other trees around on county property are still sitting there. They're out of, removed the emergent issue, but just appreciative that they were so quick to get those roads back open because it was quickly becoming a traffic nightmare. But Matt, that does lead me to a question. Just health of trees overall, and especially former Joseph Park. If they're, what the update of the health of the trees are there in that one branch that I talked to you about over Pliers Mill, because that one gives me considerable
Yeah.
concern.
So we have a risk assessment on file from Joseph's Park from December. The 21-inch walnut is going to be removed probably within the next week. And the main lead that's overhanging Pliers Mill Road will also be removed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that one, if that one were to come down, I think it would be.
Yeah.
But the whole tree, not just the limbs, I thought the last time we talked about it, it was.
The
just
21-inch, which is the smaller walnut, is going to be completely removed.
Oh, not the large one.
The
No.
51-inch, I think it's 51-inch walnut, somewhere around there. The main lead that goes over
Yeah.
Pliers Mill will be removed. The rest of the crown will remain.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two people killed and hit by trees in
Yeah.
that storm.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
prompted me to ask Matt
Yeah.
about that one specifically.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Matt.
Mhm.
That's all I have.
Okay, good. Thank you. I did remember now what I wanted to ask, and that was, and actually, Nate mentioned it, is an August recess. We did that last year and wanted to check with the council if you wanted to do an August recess. A lot of people traveling at that time of year too, so.
It's fine with me. I know we'll still be having committee meetings.
Well, committee meetings are fine. Committee meetings are fine, although you do find them tougher to do
To
in
schedule,
early
yeah.
August because a lot of people are traveling, especially till mid-August. So do you wanna? I don't know, Stuart, do you mind if we take August off? Is that a problem for
Just
you?
starts and people don't.
No, no issues for me.
Okay, just checking, okay. Do we
Yes,
need
sir.
a motion on that, Matt, or you were just we've decided to recess?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, and the other thing, let's see, I got that, we're good. Oh, I wanted to say something nice about there. So, get up. I lost him. Where'd he go? Where? No, I'm looking for the other thing.
Oh, is it behind you?
Was it? Oh, it's behind me. Thank you, Anne.
I thought you were gonna go to the podium and give your name and street.
Me too.
I was hoping she
Do that.
just walked out.
You got it.
So. Tracy Furman, Dietrich Avenue. So it's pretty traditional that when someone has done something great or been a member of the council, that we provide a proclamation for that person. So we want to continue that tradition. So Darren, we have a proclamation for you. Whereas, there's a lot of whereases in this if you don't know about proclamations. Whereas Darren Bartram was first elected to the Kensington Town Council on June 3rd, 2013, and whereas Councilmember Bartram was subsequently re-elected for 5 additional terms, and whereas Councilmember Bartram has served as council liaison to the Audit Committee, council liaison to the Ethics Commission, co-chair of the Development Review Board, DRB, since its establishment, and chair of the Traffic Committee during his service with the town, and whereas Councilmember Bartram's leadership has guided the town through numerous redevelopment projects, the easing of Kensington's alcohol regulations, advocating for the implementing a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on town streets, and always finding regulatory loopholes for the town, and whereas after 12 years serving as the council's fact finder, Councilmember Bartram has decided to retire after 6 successful elections while managing to miss every single Labor Day parade and festival in the process. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the virtue and authority vested in me as the mayor of the town of Kensington, I do hereby deem it an honor and a pleasure to recognize Darren Bartram on this 3rd day of June, 2025, for his outstanding service to the town of Kensington, and confirm his use of a golf cart if he actually attends any future Labor Day parade and festival,
Aw.
as long as he is a resident of the town of Kensington.
I'm touched.
Oh, very nice.
So alongside, I want to give Darren a key to the town, which has my name on it. So you will always remember me. But Darren and I have been friends for a very long time, and he's been a big supporter, and I will truly, truly miss you, Darren, on the town council.
Thank you.
Oh. Oh, no,
Oh.
no.
Get a picture of you. Thank you.
Oh, we have another gift for you.
And I might come
Wait,
back
wait.
and speak from the podium.
Oh, I would let
Yes, please.
So we have another gift for you, Darren. And because this is from the mayor and the council.
They just came in the mail today.
I
They're
just
chicks.
picked it today.
Checks.
Speed bump.
Somebody on this call is not gonna be happy about checks.
But
Oh my gosh.
you cannot leave Kensington without a Jason Swain
Original.
original.
Wow.
And this is a little junior Ernest Eagle
That is
that
amazing.
we want you to have, which will hopefully always remind you of it.
Aw. Well, thank you.
You're
Go
welcome.
get your eagle.
Should I?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I choose to put it back in the. I don't have to put it back.
No, you don't have to. And you don't have to pick these up either. So I just picked that up from Jason today.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, so.
Very cool.
I would even swap signed.
Of course.
But is it
Oh, thank you.
named? Yeah.
You're welcome. This year, it's like. It's
Yeah,
like
let
a
it
new
sit.
symbol of
Oh.
our service.
So
We have to name it.
Yeah.
Let's have a referendum.
So you just petted when you come into the house. And good luck.
All right, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I gave back the official key.
How we done
that?
We were some
things about Darren.
Yes, of course. Well, so please, Ann, you start.
Well, Darren, I want to join Mayor Tracy in thanking you for your service. I think 12 years is pretty remarkable, considering the number of hours that must represent, not only in town council meetings, but in community meetings and committee meetings. And as a relative newcomer to the council, I have appreciated how you are always quick to ask questions to make sure that we justify the record for a variance. It's been an important role that you play, and we're going to have to make sure that we carry that forward. But also how you bring a common sense approach to our conversations and trying to kind of cut through all the noise to figure out what's the straightest path to get to a solution that preserves what the town cares about, what our residents care about. So thank you for being just an outstanding colleague on the council and for everything you've done for the community. Thank you.
Nick?
Yeah, I was gonna say many similar things, but just to echo my colleagues, thank you for your service. When I first came into town council in 2020, it was right in the middle of COVID. So we were doing a lot of Zoom meetings. We had met before, but we didn't know each other that well, but we were thrown into an assignment that the mayor gave us to look into our election code and reforming it. So teasing out all of these nitty gritties around how we could improve it for virtual voting, for absentee ballots, to make it much more streamlined. So for example, we didn't have to have an election when there weren't candidates running opposed. But I learned a lot from Darren in that first assignment, I would say, and just how important it is to how important the code and the ordinances are for guiding our work. And he always, as Ann mentioned, goes back into it whenever we have an issue that comes up. There's either a referring back to what does this mean for our bylaws or our code ordinances, or how can we use them and our power as a town to protect the interests of the town. And really, you're always acting in the interests of the community, and I firmly believe that. And also just the institutional knowledge that you've had. Appreciate all of the questions that you ask. You always ask very pointed and articulate questions, and I always learn from the way that you're investigating an issue. So I've really appreciated the opportunity to work with you, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. No, I've said this before to Darren, but when I joined the council, Darren was the first phone call I had made. It was already, we were forming the DRB and we were talking about development, and it was not my background, and it's a bunch of nuanced little things. And I called with what I thought was a simple question. I don't ask simple questions, very long-winded, but right away, I think we sat and talked for almost 2 hours. And Darren just took me through things very methodically, helped me to understand the history of things in the town, just, how we got here as a town, other developments that worked, things that didn't work that were before my time, to help give me kind of a flavor and a sense of, where things have left the tracks a little bit. The other thing that has been amazing personally for me is that I tend to use many words when fewer will do. And there are many times where I think I have my thoughts together, but I will share them with Darren, who helps trim that all down to get to what you guys said, to the most important parts of it, which is it's a very important part of communication. And this job and how you talk about things and how you communicate with people is extremely important. And so being able to be succinct and being able to get your point across quickly are art forms that over the last 8 years that I've been on the council with Darren, you're a master at it. And I do appreciate it. I want to second your ability to ask tough but fair questions to get to the heart of the matter. We have some powers up here, but our biggest power is to ask questions, especially on the DRB. These are very consequential meetings where it turns out the record of those meetings, months and sometimes over a year later, came up in court cases. And because we asked the right questions and we were properly prepared and we properly took notes of those meetings, the town was in the right and lawful, justifiable position for pushing back on what we wanted and what we didn't. And a lot of that credit goes to Darren. So, when you look out at how the town is shaping and changing, that happens through hours and hours of work. On the DRB, during the height of like 21 to 22, when we had 4 or 5 different applications going back and looking at minutes, we were meeting sometimes 2-3 times a week. And those sessions were 2 to 3 hours each. And that didn't include all the research that went into it. It didn't include all of the minutes and messaging that had to happen afterwards. And another thing that we have talked about is that we've gone through successful developments and unsuccessful developments and large scale change without division in the town or on the council. And a lot of that has just been a quiet, steady hand in the DRB from Darren. And I cannot say enough, and I hope to carry that forward, that a calmer, steadier way, which is not my nature, is very effective. So it was a lot of fun to watch a master class over the last 8 years, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. I didn't realize I was so amazing. I might not.
Well, I'll
might
bust your
stay.
bubble. I'll bust your bubble right now. I've known Darren long enough that when he first ran for council, about 30 years ago? 20 years ago?
Too.
I voted against him because I thought he was a jerk.
Let the record.
Well, he was anti-funeral home and they were rabid about that. So that was coming in where the Montessori school is on Flyers Mill. And that was a big brouhaha within the town. But I just remember meeting Darren. I was like, oh God, this guy's too rabid. I'm not sure about him. So I voted against Darren. But Darren and I have been very good friends ever since. And Darren helped me out in one of the saddest moments of my life when Maisie died. And he was there for me. I still start crying about it. And so I remember sitting on his porch giving out candy on his street. And we never really got a chance to talk because he's on Farragut, and that runs around where Scary Perry is.
It's constant.
It's constant. I couldn't believe it, but he was such a good friend to me, and I really appreciate that, Darren. I really do. And I will definitely miss you and the support that you have given me all these years as for me as an elected official. And I really, I know you're still, will be around. But I will miss you on the council. So, okay. So we do have cake, but we will continue a little bit more and then we'll have cake. But did you want to, anybody else want to say anything, Matt?
Sure. I don't think people realize how much Darren has done outside of this room right here. If anyone remembers COVID and how influential Darren was helping people get tests and
Oh, yeah.
and kits.
Yeah.
He was all over the place, keeping the farmers market open.
Yep.
The thing I remember about Darren the most is working with him on what at the time was called the traffic committee. Sean McMullen used to call it Fight Club for a reason. And it was not that after Darren took over the chairmanship of that. And he's really helped to put policy together, made sure that we have traffic orders so we know what we're doing going forward. So in 30 years, everyone knows what we're doing. Policies on speed humps. Everything's really just kind of calmed down. You know, Connor kind of mentioned fewer words and the calm nature of Darren's. And really that's helped staff out with policy and moving forward. It's made our lives easier. So on behalf of the staff, we're incredibly grateful for Darren. You know, working with you, everything from Scary Perry, just organizing that and working with you on some staff issues as well. You've always been helpful to lend along your legal knowledge. And he's been a great advocate for the town, to the staff. And I think we're all going to really miss you, Darren. Thank you.
Does anybody?
Big shoes, Stuart.
Well, if anybody on the TV screen would like to make a comment, or if anybody in the audience would, but we will have some cake. But let's I would like to hear more about food waste before we. Oh, Jody, go ahead, Jody. You're on mute.
I just had a couple of questions and then one word about Darren. Howard Avenue, when is it gonna, the lines, when are we gonna get that painted? The crosswalk and whatever, because I almost got killed walking over to get voted.
We're waiting on the contractor. They're behind from the weather, from the rain. As soon as I know, I'll let everyone know.
Okay, we don't have a date yet, Jody, but we'll let you know. So
Yeah.
Okay.
by the time you're getting ready to go, you know.
Yeah,
away
I'm
for-
leaving town tomorrow, so I won't get.
Yeah, so maybe when you get back, it'll be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, walking on that side of the road, I've noticed, there's a lot of trash there on the train tracks. I don't think it's from the homeless man, but there's a lot of trash. If I had gloves, I would have picked it up myself, but I didn't. So, just to let you know.
Okay.
And what are the next steps now on the former Joseph's Park?
You want me to? It's very detailed.
Well, it's
Just in general.
So the council will have to make a decision on the sale. We have not had that conversation internally yet. It probably require a work session, maybe discussing at the organizational meeting. I know we've had more questions about the HOA property. That is a very long process. We are meeting formally with the HOA later this month. They will have a formal vote. We have a sales agreement that Sue Ellen, I'm working with Sue Ellen on, that they'll accept. There's actually a 3-phase process for this. The first thing we need to do is we actually need to go to Montgomery Planning. The site plan needs to be amended so they can separate that out within the site plan for the project from 1990. So it can be used for public purpose by the town. After that is complete, we have to go through a mandatory referral with Montgomery Planning, and then we have to actually subdivide the lot. Now, once we start this process, we'll probably move forward with the greenscape to kind of figure out what we want to do with improvements, but the actual acquisition of the property is going to take some time, so.
And I think when you say on the sale of Joseph's Park, you mean we have to decide on whether we use Sue Ellen as a
How are we going to
realtor?
sell it?
How
Are we going to use a realtor? All kinds of, are we going to take closed bids? Are we going to put it out to open market? These are things we have not discussed yet, so.
Okay, so it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Okay. And Darren, congratulations.
Thank you, Jody.
That's it.
I'll see you around the hood.
Thank you, Jody. Okay, good. All right, I would like to hear about, I don't have anything more to add. I will remind everybody about the 4th of July bike parade. I know July seems far away, but we've already talked about it. I know. So, I think Connor is hosting it in his front yard again.
Happy to oblige.
Yeah, so, his front yard is, St. Paul Park.
Yep.
But, look forward to that event. I was very happy that, Cantor Lindsay, who is leaving Temple Emmanuel, she actually got in touch with me and she is available to sing the national anthem, which I was thrilled about because it was like, how do you replace Cantor Lindsay? So anyway, so I'm happy that she's gonna be able to do that. So let's, if we're good, can we just talk about the food waste collection before we?
Do you want to move up public appearances or do you want me to?
No, I'd like to
Okay.
go do food waste.
We received our 13-gallon organic bins last week, finally.
I thought you were gonna show it off.
We have one upstairs. We can bring, you want to bring it? It took about 4 months longer than we anticipated to get them. There was a number of issues with the supplier, but we finally received them. We have spoken to Ecology and the facility Bioenergy Devco. We're trying to confirm either a start date for Thursday, June 19th or Thursday, June 26th. June 19th is technically Juneteenth.
It's a federal holiday, but not necessarily.
Correct. The facility's open. What we haven't been able to confirm is if Ecology has a team available.
Yeah.
So we have a direct mailer ready to go as soon as we can confirm that date. We're just kind of back
Would
and
it be
forth.
better just to do the 26th?
I think we're gonna end up with that because we just haven't had confirmation with Jesse and the team over at Ecology. So I think it's gonna end up being the 26th.
Okay.
The bins will be delivered directly to homeowners by the Public Works team. Inside the bin, there will be a sticker with a QR code and a serial number. The serial number is assigned to the residential address, and the QR code brings you information. If you click it, you go to our website, it gets you information on the program. They'll also include a copy of the direct mail flyer. If you don't, you'll get it in the mail, but you have another copy, and that's the bin.
Ooh.
So, and then we are also providing 20 compostable bags for residents to help start the program. Residents will be responsible for acquiring the bags after that. There is information on the bags that we're using and where you can buy them. You can get them on Amazon or some other locations, but we'll be providing at least 20 bags to start the program with the residents. So
I have a question.
Yep.
I use little bags from my little container that I have sitting on my counter. Can they just be thrown into that bin and not have to have a bigger bag?
The facilities asked that we use the larger compostable bags to fit that.
Okay,
They have requested that.
but you can put the little bag.
but
in
the
You
there.
can put a
there's
little
a
bag
compost
inside.
bin.
of that.
Okay,
they're
yeah, they
compost.
practically fall apart when you.
Well, at least with our current vendor that we use, what they ask though is don't tie off the little bag.
Oh,
Just take it out and put it into the big bag. That the knot sometimes gets caught up
Ah.
in equipment,
Okay, interesting.
so.
Okay, that's
Mhm.
that's good. All right.
Yeah, so we'll get the direct mail flyer out, probably late this week.
Okay.
It'll be mailed out. And then, yeah, most likely the first collection will be the 26th.
Okay.
And, we're anticipating, a few bumps, but we'll get there.
Can we just say the 26th?
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, it'd be
fine.
nice to get it rolling. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, let's just say the 26th.
I mean, the time's gonna fly by.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think the sooner they can get the bins delivered, if they have them, the better.
We're anticipating delivering them next week.
Good.
We
We can
should,
leave them on the curb or take them to the porch.
we'll bring them up towards the
Okay.
front of the house.
It might be like, I don't
Yeah,
think
we're not
this
gonna
is
leave 'em
mine.
right
But we're gonna get the postcard first so that the bins are
Correct.
coming.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a timing issue to make sure that, because people are gonna, well, what is that? What am I supposed to do with
Right.
it? So,
And the video.
there's a video as well, through a Montgomery Municipal Cable. And the picture of the toter is actually on the direct mail flyer, so they'll see it. They'll know what they're gonna get. They'll see what's being delivered.
okay.
So,
Nice. It's good to see this.
yeah,
Finally.
Thanks for your
Yeah.
patience and persistence. This has been.
Yeah, okay, great. Good.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions in the audience or Jody?
I have another question. I'm sorry to,
It's okay.
Thanks, Alex.
So, and what about Friday delivery? Friday pickup? Is
For now.
it gonna
For now,
continue?
it'll continue for now because we're contracted for that through the end of
December
the year.
31st.
Yeah,
Okay, so basically, we're gonna be putting stuff out on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
correct.
And we're gonna have trucks up and down our
Monday,
streets
Tuesday,
on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
You don't
Well,
have to do Friday, you could just do Thursday.
what
But
time
we're
is
gonna
it?
have trucks up and down our
Thursday would
streets
be-
on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Thursday's
Oh,
compost.
Thursday's gonna be the
Yeah,
pickup
so
day?
you have yard waste on Monday, trash and recycling on
Yeah.
Tuesday, composting on Thursday, and then Friday trash.
But that could be adjusted down the road.
Yeah,
Correct, yeah, so the contract runs up on December 31st. And then we will have to renew the contract beginning January 1st.
Yeah.
The trash collection contract allows us to opt out on the second trash. We will need to make that decision by October,
And then,
or at least by the October meeting.
and then at that point, is it possible if we're gonna move in that direction to consolidate everything into, I mean, I know yard waste and debris is separate, but
Mhm.
consolidate the other three into one day?
It's possible. I mean, it's really just working with ecology, seeing what their staff's available for. To start this program now, Thursday was available for them. But we can adjust the dates for the next contract beginning January 1st, so, yeah.
I mean, it would be really nice if you could, consolidate dates.
that will be the plan. That will be what we're working towards.
Yeah.
Thank you. When are you leaving town?
I'm leaving town. I'm not moving.
Oh, okay. Stuart, you have your hand up.
Yes, Matt, thanks for the great news. It's fantastic to hear. For the folks that opt out of these buckets, they don't want them because they don't plan on doing this. Is there a plan to, recapture those buckets so that we can potentially keep them in an inventory?
There's no option to opt out.
No,
Yeah,
option.
you don't get to opt out. Now, you don't have to put it out, but it's like the recycling container. The recycling container stays with the house.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm sure somebody will use it for their child's sports equipment. I don't know. I hope not, but it stays with the house.
We worked through the issues on recycling, but we'll get through.
We'll get through
composting.
composting as well. Yeah,
Technically, it's not composting.
I know.
Food waste pickup.
Food waste pickup, sorry. I know. I'll get there. I am at least participating in it.
That's great.
Yes, Joe?
So if I heard the town manager correctly, the pickups will begin the 26th of June and continue on Thursdays thereafter at least for the balance of the year?
Correct.
And could you describe the issues that you referred to that delayed the implementation of this program?
The only thing I can say is it was a third-party vendor through Toter. Toter is our recycling vendor. They have a third party with these bins.
They were made in Canada.
They were made in Niagara Falls, Canada, and their communication is terrible. And their carrier is even worse.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. So.
Okay, thank you. And finally, on this matter, I think it's important to keep in mind the good counsel of outgoing council member Bartram, who said that we should not be very quick to give up on Friday trash collection. And I think that's important wisdom that we should not lose sight of. And I think that giving up the Friday trash pickup is, although that has been lurking on this whole issue of the composting, I think that's something we should not give up on.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, Matt. One more? Sorry.
We confirmed with our general contractor that the first storm drain project will begin next Tuesday. The saw cutting.
This is on Hadley?
This is at the base of Hadley and Washington Street. We're anticipating 4 to 6 weeks. This is for the installation of the new storm drain bypass. Once they've completed that, they'll move into the second phase, which is the existing storm drain structure that is behind the rear line properties. And then from there, we're trying to figure out, we'll either go up and start the St. Paul storm drain project, or we'll try to start the Armory Baltimore project. We're trying to figure that out. But we want to get through the bypass first.
Okay, I want to
Well,
send out a
yeah.
separate postcard then.
We'll close the streets.
No, streets will remain, I mean, there will be limited disruptions,
Yeah.
but the street will remain open. There'll be some plates down and everything as they work their way up to Carroll Place. All the residents have been notified multiple times. Again, the weather has been an impact for
Right.
Jack and his team. Just constant delays with other projects to get us in town, so.
This may sound like a silly question, but what happens if we get one of those storms in the middle?
It won't impact it because the existing storm drain is still online. Okay, so what they do is they work from the bottom up. They don't work from the top.
Okay.
They
that
work
makes
from the
sense.
bottom up.
All right.
Yeah, so they'll actually start at the base of Washington and work the way up. to
Replace it,
Carroll.
connect,
Yep.
replace and connect that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's as we've told the residents on Hadley Place, it's not going to be a very, very nice scene for about a month. But once it's complete, most of the water issues will be taken care of. So,
And will we be placing temporary no parking signs?
probably,
Good to
you
know.
may have noticed there's a bunch of traffic barrels in that general area. More than they probably need. They're gonna start moving them around. And then if there's any reason where you can't park, or if there's a limited closure, there'll be some signage up. Typically, they try to post that about 48 hours in advance, so.
Yeah, my only thought is as we go into the summer where people may spend more time at the beach or on vacation, and if we've got a car right in the middle of just more than 48 hours where possible.
Yeah.
I know they are aware of the project, but sometimes not remembering that when they, if I would
Yeah.
park in the street, whoops, that might be exactly where they need to be.
I have another question, unless somebody has a question on this topic, because I'm gonna go back a little bit. I think everybody's noticed the tall grass in the county, right away in the park, along Kensington Parkway, and the same in Warner Circle. So has anybody been in touch with
Yes.
Parks and Planning? What's going on?
Money.
Yeah, we are in constant communication with the Parks Division, their manager, and the service requests. And as the mayor mentioned, it's staffing and money. And
They don't have staffing or money to mow.
we were told that they're short on staff. Most of it's seasonal. They haven't brought it all on. And then any other time we talk to them, it's usually a monetary issue with them. So
It's like they're stretching it to 2 to 3 weeks
Can we just
between
clean
them.
and leave them?
we've had that conversation.
What was that?
Can we just clean it, like we do the work and we figure out a
Well, I
way
think
to share it with.
we'd like to talk to the, possible new county executive to
Mhm.
see if we can't enter some sort of MOU to maintain these areas because of this.
Mhm.
I mean, it puts more on our own public works, but I think they could take care of them pretty quickly along the creek and particularly Warner.
Warner Circle.
Yeah.
Is there thought that with that MOU might come some of the shared use dollars that could help with additional staff from,
Sure, it would, we can ask.
Yeah,
But I think
Oh.
especially for Warner, if we want to utilize the park more, because right now, every time we want to use it, we have to pay to use it.
oh, okay.
So
There are
it could be
trade-offs.
that we would not have to,
Mhm.
do pull
Yep.
permits
Yep.
for the use. So I think, and it'll be interesting because by next year or 2020, I mean, I'm hoping maybe we could do this earlier, but a new county executive won't actually start until 27. So could we do something sooner
Mhm.
would be helpful. But there's quite a few county council members who are running for that position and see if we could get them to support allowing such an MOU with a municipality through parks, not for necessarily for ownership, but for, maintenance. Particularly grass, so. We'll see how that goes.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at PHP, which would be council members Friedson, Finney Gonzalez, and Jawando,
Mhm.
so.
And Jawando's, he's running,
He is currently running,
right,
but, just if they're on the same committee assignment next in the coming year that
Mhm.
you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, well, we can bring that up with our county council person, Kate Stewart,
Mhm.
too, to see if that's something that they think they would support. But in the meantime, staff does call them. And,
They know us.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, anyway, okay. So I'd like to get through the ordinances fairly quickly if we're ready, and then I know if we're waiting for public appearances, but we do want to have cake, so I want to just get this along. And I would like, especially number one, for if you want to bring it up and then let Darren
Sure.
speak to it.
Sure. Council, this evening we're introducing ordinance number O-04-2025, which is an ordinance of the mayor and council of the town of Kensington amending chapter 7, public health, safety and conduct, article 2, noise, section 7-201, noise control, to exempt the town from application of section 31B-9 of the Montgomery County Code. This was at the recommendation of not only Councilmember Bartram, but some feedback we received from our Public Works Department with regards to the restrictions on our gas powered leaf blowers. And if Councilmember Bartram would like to add anything to that, we will need to make a motion this evening to set the public hearing for Tuesday, July 15th, 2025 at 7:00 p.m.
I would just say that I started looking into this back when they considered the prohibition. Our crew works really hard throughout the entire fall to clean leaves from our many parks. And then we put our leaves on the curb, and it often rains on them and weighs them down for 2 weeks until the crew can make it through town and pick them up. I mean, it's better with the roving basis, but it's a lot of work. And once those leaves get wet, or once, it's a lot of work. Right now, they have this really nice choreographed collection where you have the big trucks sucking the leaves and a couple people with blowers. And from what I've heard, the batteries just aren't going to last, and the backpacks are going to be heavier than the leaf blowers. I talked with a couple of local municipalities. I know that I believe it's the Chevy Chase Village. They don't collect the leaves directly, they hire a contractor. They switched to a contract blowing the leaves to completely hand collecting the leaves with rakes, and their costs doubled. So I'm as a parting gift to our staff, I'm suggesting that we pull the municipal employees out of the restriction and let them continue to use the equipment that they have.
Do you have any questions?
No, but I'll add, I've mentioned this before, but I've stopped and talked to a couple of Montgomery County's maintenance workers when they were at Kensington Cabin Park, just about their experience because they were using battery powered leaf blowers. And, these are people whose job it is to do this day in and day out. And what I took away from it was it takes them twice as long, do simple tasks to the point of things are wet, they're not, they lose power over the battery life. So it starts fine, but by the tail end of the battery, they now have to keep a trailer with batteries with them. But the biggest complaint that resonated with me was, to Darren's point, the weight of the backpack. They said it adds upwards of 40 pounds for each of these batteries. And sometimes these packs have 2 batteries. And so their point was each of them complain now of constant back pain. And so when we talked about the fact that this was being brought about because of noise and audible hearing, they were all confused because they're like, we have ear protection, but now there's nothing to protect our backs. And when I think about our crew in the town, what they do, I think we provide them ear protection for the audibles, but I'm in support of this because of talking to county people about the impact that they're having physically from the battery packs.
I'm in support of this for the reasons you've stated, to have it apply to our town employees or contractors under our authority because of just the volume and the scale of what they're doing is very different than a small yard that residents do, but I wondered, with the language operated by or under the authority of the town, if we needed to be, more specific to indicate we really do mean under the authority, not our jurisdictional authority, but agents and employees acting under our authority.
Because we don't want it to apply to,
The assumption is
People who-
we are.
Anybody
intending
within the
to
town.
Apply to town employees and town. agents.
Contracted.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That was just a thought I had, for down the road. I don't know if anybody else.
But Sue Ellen, you wrote the ordinance. Do you think it implies other? Does it give the impression that anybody who's working on, say, our private yards, that they can use gas powered blowers?
Jurisdictional authority versus.
You're on mute, but I saw you say no.
My apologies. I had to switch over to my iPad. My computer went south for, I don't know what reason.
Lack of batteries?
No, it was something else. I don't know.
Okay.
It was just not receiving. It kept kicking off of the internet. So the question is, this is only applicable to town operated equipment. No one else will be able to use the gas powered leaf blowers. This is just for the heavy work that the town crew has to do.
And obviously, we're going to introduce it and have a public hearing.
Right.
More discussion around it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll see what feedback we get. I do think maybe we want to clarify it a little bit, but we'll see.
Anybody in the audience
I
have
have
a
a question.
Oh, okay.
Just
Sorry.
two quick questions. So I know that you said when we consulted with you, Sue Ellen, that this was only pulling us out of this part of the noise code for the county. So the rest of it, just to confirm, the rest would still apply. And is the county aware that we're doing this? Did they have any feedback as we went about it? Would it be helpful to have consulted with them at all?
You don't require their approval to do this.
Right.
Their law does not apply within your town unless you adopt it. The only thing I could see, the county has the authority to enforce the noise ordinance within your boundaries. And I don't know that there'd be any problem with them continuing to enforce the remainder of it.
Right, and it goes into force July 1st, is that right? Is that when it comes into effect?
I thought
County. or-
2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since we are part of the noise code, right,
Mhm.
then everything else applies still for the other noise issues and, concerts and things like
Right.
that.
Yes,
And there's no, because we don't foresee their need for leaf blowers for the town until the fall, having that period where we're not actually out of it yet. Until it gets approved in like August would be, or September actually, I think is when we'd approve it.
I don't think, they only have one blower with
Mhm.
battery?
Mhm.
Battery operated?
Yeah, we have one.
Mhm.
So we'll be under the code until for the first couple of months.
It will be violating the county ordinance.
Oh,
Okay.
he did not just say that on record.
If we used it.
Yeah.
we would.
If we used our equipment, yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't think we will, right? We're not,
No,
Okay.
because
We're on recess.
leaf collection is not usually
Take
until late October, November.
yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
That's it.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have a question? Go ahead, Leslie.
She's gonna have to say this again at the public hearing.
Just because we're just.
Yeah.
Street.
That's okay.
So you've referenced that this is to opt out of Montgomery County's noise ordinance of 70 dBA, but you'll still comply with the state. Does anyone know what that level is? I didn't see. Is that correct? Is that how I read it?
It,
Counties is lower than the states, and so you'll still be under the guidance of the states, but I just didn't know what the states was.
yeah, and I don't remember. Sue Ellen and I did talk about it, unless Sue Ellen remembers
I
specifically.
do.
Okay,
Generally speaking, the state exempts leaf blowers doing maintenance during daylight hours from restrictions. And that is the law that applies across the state unless a local jurisdiction adopts something more restrictive.
Okay, so no sound restriction at all,
Correct.
and we would opt out of any sound restriction.
Just regarding the blowers for
Just
town
the
staff.
blowers for the town.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not really going with the state, we just are, okay,
Right.
all right, that's fine.
Okay. Joe?
Yes, thank you. Was the text of this ordinance included with the materials that were posted with the agenda online? I couldn't find it. That's the reason I'm asking, and maybe I'm not looking in the right place, but
it was not, we received the ordinance after the agenda was sent out. The ordinance will be posted to the town website. It will also, a direct mail flyer will be sent to every resident per our policy on ordinances, which will have a link to the website. Once it's posted for public hearing in July, our policy is to leave it open an extra month, so there'll be plenty of time to evaluate it and respond.
Okay.
the reason I was asking, one of the reasons I was asking is that some of the council members were quoting from the ordinance, and so apparently they have it, but it has been posted online, you say.
Yes.
Yeah, it is printed for us. So.
Yes. It will be online tomorrow.
And just for the record, this is supposed to be an introduction only.
Yeah, it's an introduction. It's not,
We weren't supposed to have conversations, so.
sorry, I would just want to get answers from the questions from them.
But
From the- yeah.
requesting a motion to set the public hearing for Tuesday, July 15th, 2025 at 7:00 PM.
Okay. Is there need a motion?
Do we
Wait.
need a motion to introduce the ordinance? And then
Yes.
set-
Yeah, and then set it,
Here,
yeah.
So
See, we're gonna miss all.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance number O-04-2025 and to set a public hearing for July 15th at 7 PM.
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, council.
Okay,
It's coming to the July meeting,
I
Gainer.
know, he is. Number two,
Before this evening's resolution number R-11-2025. A resolution of the mayor and town council authorizing the town manager to establish an all-way stop at the intersection of Howard Avenue and Armory Avenue. The signage has already been installed under staff's authority. However, we need a traffic order to keep it up. This is at the recommendation of our traffic engineer following the installation of the new sidewalk between Connecticut Avenue and Armory Avenue on the north side, and having a defined crosswalk at the intersection. So.
any questions? Any questions in the audience? Can I have a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number R-11-2025 to establish an all-way stop at the intersection of Howard Avenue and Armory Avenue.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Number three,
Thank you, council. Before you this evening is resolution number R-12-2025, a resolution of the mayor and town council authorizing the town manager to establish 4-hour parking in certain areas along the 3700 block of DuPont Avenue between Concord Street and the DuPont Avenue barricade. This was at the request of the Jubilee Association, who had acquired the property at that location. A traffic engineer did an evaluation. He determined that 3 public parking spaces would be possible. We have already established signs there for the 3 spaces. The traffic order is to formally establish this request.
okay, any questions? Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, this is not a residential area. This is a commercial area between the existing DuPont barricade and Concord Street.
Yeah, Capital One and then you.
Correct. And again, we were only able to establish 3 parking spaces.
And these, Matt, are these to be like street parallel spaces?
Correct, yeah, and they're limited to 4 hours, so.
And I assume it's this area here.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Um. Okay. I mean, I guess my only question was there any thought given to 45-degree angled spaces, given that there's no traffic headed westward, or that doesn't?
You
No.
have too many
Joe,
coming in and out of
Trouble
the,
finding 3 spaces
Yeah.
here.
yeah,
There's too many
Yeah.
curb cuts, it looks
There,
like.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
there's
a lot
three
of
curb cuts. The barricade basically creates a no outlet zone.
Yeah.
It was kind of difficult.
Barricades right here.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Come.
Yep.
yeah, and as I mentioned, the signs have already been posted. We just need a traffic order to
Keep them.
Yeah.
correct.
is there a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number R-12-2025.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, council. Before you this evening is resolution number R-13-2025. A resolution of the mayor and town council declaring the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the town of Kensington to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence.
Any questions? Any questions from the audience? Is there a motion?
I'll move to adopt resolution R-13-2025, establishing the first Friday in June as National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank
And
you very
remember to wear
much.
orange that day.
Yes,
We were wearing it last night.
we were.
In honor.
Well, some
Yeah,
were,
or-
some were more orange than others, but but Friday, let's get a little,
Thank you,
Together.
council.
get it together.
Before you is the last resolution for this evening is R-14-2025. A resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Kensington authorizing a contract agreement with Lydia Lawless of Crayman and Graham, PA for legal services to represent the town in the Bakery, Confectionery, Tobacco Workers and Grain Millers International Union, that's BCTGM, versus the town of Kensington, case number C-15-CV-25-001743. We mentioned this earlier this evening. Staff has the authority to sign a contract for up to $30,000, which we did. However, we need council approval to meet the $50,000 requirement for this case. We will be reimbursed by Legit, who is local government insurance trust, for any bills we will pay and then being reimbursed for this. So the contract with Ms. Lawless was attached to this resolution.
Okay, any questions from the council? No? Joe, you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. I'm just very curious to know how the law firm was engaged. Was there anything even remotely akin to a bid process, or was there prior engagement with the town that recommended this firm to us? I'm just curious how you found them.
Yeah, our town attorney recommended them, Sue Ellen Ferguson. We discussed it at a work session last month, and the council gave the town staff authority to move forward with a contract agreement.
I believe the lawyer is very familiar with the town as well.
Correct. She's familiar with the town, the county, as well. Yeah.
Were there
Sorry,
other
Joe,
law
did I cut
firms
you off?
considered?
No, we did not. We did not.
And is this $50,000 cap, is that the final sum that you anticipate paying the law firm for these services?
No, so what we can do is we can spend up to $50,000 with this contract, and then if required, if that amount goes above that, we'll have to bring back a new resolution with a ratified contract to the council.
And we will be reimbursed by our insurance company for these expenses,
For up to 50.
up to
Up to
50,000.
50,000.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
Did the lawyer give you any indication that this might be more costly than $50,000? As litigation can be,
If I may, Mayor, yes,
Sure.
everyone's aware of the fact that litigation is not controlled by the parties necessarily or one party, and that it could be more than that, but this is the limit that's been set at the moment. And so it would come back to council before anything else happened.
Okay. My question was, did the lawyer give us any indication that the litigation may cost us more than $50,000? I
The
mean,
answer I just gave is that yes.
thank you, Mayor Furman.
Thank you. Okay, could we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-14-2025.
There's a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you,
very much.
council.
All right, last item on the agenda is public appearances, the opportunity to bring up anything that's not already on the agenda.
If the scouts have any questions, you are welcome to ask.
Can't get a badge without a question.
Yeah, right?
It's your last chance to ask Darren a question. Among the council. Reel him.
No questions? All
We
right,
have a
Joe?
troop number?
Oh, yeah,
the
what
record?
troop? Just for the record, what troop number? Oh, 439,
439, they're over at St. Paul's.
and you were GTA? Oh, got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
And you guys meet where? Chevy Chase.
I think it goes.
Joe?
That to the records.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm happy to defer, Mayor, to the Girl Scouts right now.
Well, they
They
are,
wanna
they're
take
good.
the
They
floor.
don't have any other questions right now.
Okay.
They're waiting for cake.
I guess you all are, but I'm curious to understand why the latest issue of the Around Town newsletter offered only one side of the debate about the sale of Joseph's Park. In other words, only the positions supporting the sale were presented in the newsletter, which goes to all townspeople. And this is really puzzling, and even more than puzzling, it's rather undemocratic. And I'm referring to the principally to the mayor's 575 word write-up that was on the front page of the Around Town newsletter, and then it continued on to the next page. And it just seems to me that the norms of fairness, of open discourse, informed debate really necessitates that contrary views be presented as well. And to ignore contrary views, to ignore viewpoint diversity, it seems incongruous and inconsistent with a well-functioning local democracy. Now, this referendum, as you know, was an upshot of an admirable grassroots effort, a petition drive in which supporters of the sale and opponents of the sale both signed and gave their signatures. And for the views of only one side to be presented in the only publication that reaches all the town residents just seems unfair and astonishing to me. And it's not as if other views were unavailable for prospective publication. I mean, 2 of the 4 council members presented back in March thorough, even eloquent arguments opposing the sale of the park. And I think it would have only taken a small effort to transcribe excerpts of their arguments, for example, and present them in the town journal at a length comparable to the mayor's. And back in May last month at the candidates meet and greet, we heard a few townspeople say that they had not seen adequate discussion about the proposed sale of the park. And the mayor's write-up in the town journal addressed only one side of that perceived shortfall. There are views, other views, the opponents of the sale, those views were ignored in the publication that reaches all residents of the town. So I'm very curious to know how this decision was made just to present one side of the argument.
The journal goes out, the upcoming journal goes to every council member and all groups who provide content with a due date. Everybody has an opportunity to provide an article. I'm one of those. And if they choose not to, I can't, that's their decision. The council was sent a copy through mayor.council when I sent it to Matt before it went to the printer. And if somebody had said, I want to write something, I would have made room for them.
So is that only council members who can do that, or were other townspeople eligible to submit opposing views? It seems like it wouldn't have been difficult to solicit counter arguments to the sale. Not that it would have made a difference necessarily in the vote of yesterday, but I think with fairness, the norms of fairness and viewpoint diversity would have required soliciting a view from someone else, from an opponent.
Joe, I know you also would like us to go out and find candidates to run against us, our own, ourselves too. And so I think sometimes your expectations are a little bit
Well, let's
Um,
just keep it to this latest issue of the town journal, of the Round Town Journal, and not bring in extraneous issues
Well,
that may or
Joe,
may not be germane. But I'm very curious to know why one side of this argument was presented.
Joe, I have an issue with one of the things that you said, which was at the meet and greet, which was for myself and Stuart, being reelected. And yes, people brought up that they felt there wasn't adequate information about this issue. But when we went through the number of journal articles that had been written, the number of public meetings with minutes that had been posted, the number of times that this issue had been posted onto a neighborhood listserv, which is not the official town record, and I know that because I posted most of them. The information was there. And so the issue I take with your comment is that you're saying, had we included that information in here, it would have more informed residents. These are the same residents that were not informed by the same means that we had been sending out this information. I can't make people read the information that we're putting out.
That may be true, but I think that,
Joe, the
at
second
the,
part is, this isn't a newspaper. It's a newsletter.
it's
It
the
is the
only
town's
publication
record,
that reaches all townspeople.
but it's not a newspaper. It's not an op-ed where it's necessarily looking for opinions on every side of the issue. It is, I'm looking at our town website, which explains what the newsletter is. It is the minutes of our meetings. It's important agenda items for upcoming town council meetings, town announcements, and upcoming events. And to the mayor's point, opposing views could have asked to include, and they didn't.
Were those opposing views solicited?
But that's the point. I do think for the record, it's important to note that we were not informed there was going to be this piece by you, Mayor. So there was really no motivation for us to provide an opposing view. Now, had we been offered that, I may have taken you up on it. I don't know if Ann would have. I would have preferred if there were no opinions put, because we already made our case during the previous town council meeting. So I would have allowed for the facts to be laid out, and this not to have been an opinion, but since this is being discussed and you made the point, I think it's important to note that.
Yeah, thank you. As I say, I think the norms of fairness, open discourse, and informed debate would have necessitated that contrary views be presented if the pro-sale view was so prominently presented. And this may or may not be, a newspaper or whatever, but it's the only publication that reaches town residents on a regular basis. And there has been a lot of debate about that. I'm well aware of that, but I just think that the prominence given this opinion piece in the latest issue of the Round Town Journal was just unfair, very unfair. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, I think that is everything. We've set the date. And we're just looking for a motion to adjourn.
No.
Now.
Honor is all yours.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Yay! Let me pick.
Yay, Darren.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Sue Ellen.
Thanks, everyone.